third is Suarez. Goodell comes running in. He's under it, makes the catch. Here's the throw to the plate. It's in the air. He is out! Cameron Rick hangs on! Oh, man, what a play! Deep to right field. Way up and way! Second
Well, you're hearing from us a little later, so that means the Phillies weren't playing any more games, which shocker. Again, they lose in 4 in the NLDS, shocker. It was a little different than last year in some regards. They pitched a lot better. The games were competitive, and they could have won any of the 3 they lost. And the game they won was normal Phillies fashion, where they looked like dog shit for 2 games and then score 10 runs. Most average Phillies win ever. But at the end of the day, it's over again. And it really came down to 3 plays and 3 losses. It came down to the Matt Strom home run in game 1, which what was I saying for 2 months on this podcast?
Yeah.
It is coming. It is coming. And it happened. The Matt Strom backbreaker in the playoffs. It happened. Game 2 came down to 2 plays. Trey Turner's throw home with the bases loaded was a little off, and it was not a forced play, so they had to get the tag. And at the time, it was just 1-0, and you could live with that, but that inning kind of spiraled and ended up 3-0, and you lose that game 4-3. Later in that game, Castellanos, of all people, makes contact with a ball in the other batter's box, 2-run double, and they bunt the next guy, and he gets thrown out at third. You lose that game by 1. Like I mentioned, you win game 3 in a blowout. And then game 4, you didn't score any runs. And then Orion Kerkering has probably, unfortunately, the most memorable, unmemorable, I guess, so to say, play of the Phillies playoff run the last 4 years, with throwing home in a situation where he did not need to, in a forced play situation with 2 outs, where I don't know if he forgot the outs or just panicked in general, thought that was his best play, but throws wide. They win 2-1, and it's over. They didn't hit, but they also did a lot of stupid shit, and it's just kind of been what the last 2 years, and really since game 6 of 2023 in the NLCS have looked like. It's looked exactly the same every time October's come around.
Yeah. I don't the bottom line stems from the $1 billion lineup not hitting outside of one game. But I don't always understand decisions from, a lot of what you just outlined, but it seems like, and I saw a tweet saying this, and I forget who it was, but it was around the game 2 when they bunted. Thompson manages, I know I'm critical of him during the regular season, but all in all, he manages a pretty good regular season. And in
they win a lot of games. Yeah.
2022, when they went on their run, he was, super aggressive. And for the most part, he trusted his guys that year. And then the one time he didn't, when he pulled Wheeler early, is when Alvarez obviously hit the home run off Alvarado. But even that series, I remember Syndergaard against the Braves, he definitely gave guys a little bit longer than I thought he would. So then, fast forward to 2023, obviously Christopher Sanchez wasn't what he is now, but
unfortunately,
you gave him one time through the order and then brought in Jeff Hoffman in the 3rd inning when Ketel Marte came up. So then you're forced to use Craig Kimbrell again. And then last year, you gave Hoffman a wraparound inning, which, he looked really good in his first inning, but then you let him sit for a while because the Phillies loaded up the bases and didn't score and did their whole bullshit that they normally do. But it was a long inning, and then you sent Hoffman out and single, walk, and then boom, Lindor grand slam off Estevez. This year, he didn't learn from anything. He, last year Hoffman, okay, whatever. You're going down with your best reliever. Fine. He was an all-star last year. He was incredible. You signed David Robertson off the street. He was driving his kids in his minivan to school in the middle of July, and you signed him. And, he had a good end of the season. August was definitely better than September, and he's been leaking gas for a little bit. So you bring him in for one inning to get guys out in, what was that, the sixth inning?
So it was after the double.
Yeah.
So it was just to kind of work out of that jam, just to keep the lead.
So he threw 6 pitches, and not one was really, close to the zone. And Max Muncy bailed him out and chased pitches. Okay, you got out of the jam. You're still up 3-2. You send the 42-year-old who's been average for a month back out to the mound for an extra inning. I'm shocked he gave up, the walk and the single. I'm so surprised. And then all of a sudden, you said at the start of the series, whoever wasn't pitching game 2 between, Luzardo was obviously game 2. So you have Ranger in the bullpen, and you still go with Strahm in that spot. And, my whole thing with that is, okay, you're bringing Strahm in for Ohtani. Great. But that your bullpen's not particularly good up and down the lineup in terms of inherited runners, and you're bringing him in solely for Ohtani. You let 2 guys get on. He gets Ohtani out. Great. But then he's got to face Betts and Teoscar, which are not advantageous matchups. If you know that Strahm's going to have to face 2 righties, why not let it be whoever, Andy Pajes and whoever the hell was back there in their lineup? I don't know if Kike was down there that game or if it was still Ben Rortvert because Will Smith didn't play in game 1. So regardless,
yeah, I think so.
If you're solely setting up a lefty for Ohtani, why not let him face the righties at the bottom of the lineup instead of Mookie Betts and Teoscar Hernandez? So that decision just made no sense to me. And the bunt, you can dig into the analytics all you want regarding the win percentage and the run percentage. I know those were flowing around where your win percentage went down, but the probability to score the run goes up. For a guy who was supposed to be managing off of feel and not analytics when he replaced Girardi 3 years ago. Seeing 3 hits in a row, and I was at that game, the fans were literally begging for a reason to cheer all game. Our section was standing up when the count got to 2 balls. That's how miserable the offense was. So the fact that you got 3 hits and 2 runs in a row in the 9th inning and then decided to bunt, Stott's ground ball or pull rate is between pull and up the middle, which would have advanced the runner, is 68%. So extremely high percentage chance that he does it. And you take the bat out of his hand, you take the energy out of the crowd, and then in the post-game press conference say we were playing for the tie there because I liked my bullpen, when you just used Duran for 20 pitches and your highest leverage lefty, or so you say, in earlier when Strahm came in and Kirkring also pitched. So I don't know who we really liked back there.
Yeah, I told you that. Yeah, I said that didn't make sense. I texted you that.
Yeah. So it obviously, like I said, I don't want to rag on him because it stems from the offense not scoring at all.
Yeah.
But I just thought there were just a lot of questionable managerial and coaching decisions that they outplayed the Dodgers in this series. And it sounds weird to say, but the Dodgers hit under 200 as a team, and you scored more runs than them. You hit more home runs than them. Obviously, it all came from game 3, but you out-hit them and outperformed them in every single category.
Mm-hmm.
And the series wasn't even close. If you kind of look at it, I don't know. It's the people who are freaking out after the game on the umpire with the missed call and Alex call, whatever. Your offense had Schwarber hit a double in the first inning and he didn't move. It stems from the top 3, the offense as a whole, but if you're ranking blame, Dombrowski had a great deadline getting Duran, and Bader played great. It's unfortunate.
I didn't even really bring that up. Bader was not much of a factor. We're talking about half a game and 2 pinch hits.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he got hurt, but like Brandon Marsh was your 5 hitter.
Well, that's what I was going to get into. We talk about the $1 billion lineup, which pretty much just is Harper, Schwarber, Turner, who outside of one game, none of them played well, and Harper, I think overall was not good. But their protection, which I've been saying all year, is horrible. They have a very good 1 through 3. 3 guys that will probably have Hall of Fame cases one day. I think at least one of them gets in. But then you have probably the worst 4 through 6 that was in the playoffs. I mean, outside of the Reds. But actually, I don't know, because Ellie bats like 6th on that team for some reason. But anyway, Bohm and Marsh stink. And they are regular season warriors who flash during the regular season, but every time the lights get too bright, those guys stink. And they were 4 and 5. And I get Real Muto was getting old. And, Kepler honestly not bad in the playoffs. He had some clutch hits that didn't really result in anything because they just came up short in both of those first games at home. But that's got to be replaced. It just cannot be those 2 guys. Neither of them should be on this team next year, is what I'm getting at. You have some corner options. You have, Grisham, Bellinger, and Tucker as lefty outfield options that are a lot better than Brandon Marsh. You have Alex Bregman, who plays third base. We know that Aiden Miller is probably knocking on the door after how good he ended the season and got up to AAA. We'll see how, spring training goes for him. But you can live with the Stotts and Real Mutos at the bottom of the lineup if the middle is better. And once again, it screwed them because they get no power from the middle of the lineup. Those 2 guys combining for 20 home runs a year cannot be who bats 4th and 5th on your team. It just cannot be. I don't care how many home runs Schwarber hits out of the 2 spot. That lack of power and overall production out of the middle of the lineup killed them for 2 years in a row. And, I don't know how much Harper's really getting worked around because that's behind him. It's starting to show. But the number one thing this offseason needs to be proper protection in the middle of the lineup because, come on, let's be serious. Those 2 guys being placed in the prime RBI spots of a lineup is just not sustainable.
Yeah, no, they're going to have to get creative. And I don't know, last year, the shock trade, 2 days before Christmas, was Luzardo.
Yeah.
And, take out a handful, 3 or 4 starts in the middle of the summer. Luzardo was a dog for you. And he proved his worth in the playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs, he rose up. He's a big game player.
I expect some sort of extension coming at some point, I guess, depending on what you do at Ranger. But I think, regardless whether Ranger's back or not, Luzardo is very good. And as long as the crowds keep showing up, he will. He got better throughout the season, and in that playoff start, he was incredible. So, last year, the sneak trade was Luzardo. Did we need more pitching? No, but their logic was if you're going to be elite at, or if you're going to be great at something, why not be elite at it? So they hammered down on the rotation. We saw what that got them. The same result as it did last year, essentially. Where the offense no-showed. So, like you said, they have to go get protection, but the free agent class doesn't really, line up for that well outside of, Alonso. If you can slot in the prototypical right-handed protection bat for Bryce, it's Pete Alonso. A lot of home runs. He has pretty good strike zone discipline. He doesn't chase a ton. So if they're walking Bryce, Pete's still going to make them work for it. He has a shit ton of RBIs. Hits for decent average and is accustomed to that 4 spot. I don't know if they do it. I know Bryce said he'd move back to the outfield for it last year. It definitely complicates some things, but Middleton's the article in The Athletic at the end of the summer was about Middleton about Dombrowski and how they approach the trade deadline. And with David Robertson, the quote that Middleton says, it doesn't cost us prospects. It's money. That's easy. That's nothing. So, like, if you genuinely mean that, you could say all this stuff about, oh, I want my trophy back, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you genuinely mean it, the third luxury tax or the Cohen tax, like whatever it is, that should not stop you from going. Like, it's been two years in a row where NLDS exits have happened because you have a bad lineup. It has been going back to the Diamondback series in Game 6 and 7 where your offense has done nothing. Like, this offseason cannot be, let's focus on pitching. I get it. Wheeler might be out a little bit to start the year, but you cannot run it back. Like, Bader should be back. Marsh should not be an everyday outfielder. And you have to figure out how to get Castellanos off the books because that contract is dead weight at this point.
Well, Taiwan too.
Dude, here's the thing. I genuinely, if they want to, I don't think Taiwan's going to be difficult to move. He had a good year this year. And $18 million for like a starter is really not that crazy. Like, Frankie Montas is going to make that much this year to get Tommy John surgery. So, like, that contract, you know, obviously we could be sitting here this time next year and Taiwan could have a 2024 kind of Taiwan year. But, like, for the year that he had this year, like, 18 million is not crazy, especially if you don't know what Wheeler looks like to start the year and you probably don't want to rush Wheeler back. So, like, yes, it'd be great if they could get off of that contract, but realistically, I think the Castellanos contract is more important to get off. And that goes without, you know, back to the point that I was making where if Middleton's serious about it's just money and you really want to improve the team, find a trade partner for Castellanos, get something decent back in return. You know, your bullpen's pretty barren, so try and get like a 6th, 7th inning reliever and eat 15 of the 20 million. Like, take on the money. If you're genuinely serious about improving the team, don't be like, oh, we can't find a trade partner because the contract's bad. It's a 1-year, $20 million deal. Some team will take a flyer on the 260 hitter that, especially, I mean, shit, call Cincinnati back. They need offense bad. He had 1 million home runs and hit 300 there. Let him go back to that stadium where he was comfortable and get, I don't know, somebody back as a reliever. I don't know, find somebody to eat the contract, but they have to improve offensively, and that crater with $20 million in the middle of your order that, you know, everyone seems to love him in the clubhouse. I'll give him credit running the Kirk ring after the game. Good move. Seems like the teammates like him, but I don't know. I don't think his personality is for Philadelphia.
Yeah. He's a little thin-skinned, I guess is the best way to put it. But back to Middleton, and talk about money. 2026 is a super interesting year when it comes to money in the Phillies for multiple reasons. As you mentioned, Real Muto is a free agent, but Real Muto, Schwarber are already off. That 18 million you have tied up to Kepler and Romano is coming off. And there's that, 38 million sitting out there with Castellanos and Walker with it that has another year on it. There's also the fact that you're hosting the All-Star game, and you're hosting the All-Star game because it's 250 for the country, and Philadelphia is expected to have an uptick in tourism overall over the summer. Chances are a lot of people are going to stop into a Phillies game when they're in town. You're going to make a lot of money. This is the year for the Phillies to make a lot of money. And then there's the uncertainty if the 2027 season even happens because of, the CBA and all that stuff. You might not have to pay a contract in 2027. So for a couple of reasons, you should want to go for it in 2026. One, because who knows what the hell the sport looks like after it. And two, you might be in an interesting situation financially in 2027. So I think all those things considered, they have to find a way to be aggressive. I don't know, like you mentioned with the free agent class, I don't know how much of that can be done without giving up some kind of prospect. I think they'd like to make Andrew Painter, Crawford, and Miller parts of the team. in 2026. But, do you have to trade one or two of them to get the player that's going to fix your current team? Maybe. Like, I said Ketel Marte. I don't know. Maybe, J-Ram. Who knows? Like, I feel like you need someone with that kind of skill set, that type of attitude. So we'll see. But I think they have to be aggressive, and you got to move on from this freaking daycare. You got to move on from Castellanos. You got to move on from Garrett Stubbs, like just completely out of the, like, can't even be in the dugout for the playoffs. Don't care if he's on the roster or not. Needs to be gone. But yeah, they got to go. I don't know what you do with Kerkering. I just don't know if now him coming back will just totally nuke him. Like, does he need to change the scenery? Which, that's going to be something to follow what they do with him throughout the offseason. But the overall core of this team should remain the same. Obviously, Harper and Turner are not going anywhere. Real Muto, or not, I keep saying Real Muto. Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, and Suarez, or not Suarez, Luzardo are back. Duran's back. Strom has to be back because of his thing. Alvarado might be back. Banks is back. I think he's still on pre-arb or arb at this point. So, like, the majority of it's going to be back. We know Thompson's going to be back now too. You got to just kind of eat the money and make the necessary changes because you are very close. Like, the 3 games you lost were all by a run, or game 1 was 2, but you had the tying run at the plate. Like, you're close. Even though it seems far away, you've been close, and it's just little corrections. Yes, Harper and Turner have to play better, but there's also just minor upgrades in other spots, including a league average outfield, which we saw when they had a league average outfielder and Bader out there, how much of a difference it made versus then again when he was gone again with being hurt. Yeah, a league average outfield would really help this team.
Yeah, no, it definitely would. I think your infield is pretty. I mean, aside from Bohm, like, you know what you're getting from Stott.
I really don't want to trade Stott. He obviously has the most value out of those, the 3 nonsense players, Bo, Marsh, and him. But he does all the other little things well that those 2 do not. He's a great defender. He runs the bases well. He's smart. The 2 of them I don't think are smart players. So he has the most value, but he's also the one I want to keep out of the 3.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is, without question, a huge plus. I think JT should be back on, like, a team. I hope he would do a team-friendly deal. I don't know what his market would look like, but it'd be really hard to find a replacement otherwise. So, like, you kind of have to go to the table there.
Yeah, I know we say that. The catcher market is so bad that someone might overpay him is my worry.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge problem. So I don't know what the right answer is, but I think it starts in the outfield, especially like the corners. Every corner position on the field is typically where the power comes from, and, like, you just didn't have it. I mean, Kepler had like the 3rd most home runs on the team, and he was like trying to get ran out of town in June. So, like, you have to do something, preferably from the right side. I don't know where it comes from, the free agent class, like we talked about. Like, I don't know if Schwarber apparently wants 5 years and an AAV around $30 million. I love Schwarber. It'll be very tough to replace, 57 home runs, but, like, that's a lot of money to tie up to a DH, and that's a lot of years to tie up to a 33-year-old when you already have Bryce here till he's 40, Turner here till he's 40, Wheeler here till he's 38, and Nola here until he's 39, 40.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Nola contract.
So, like, I don't know where you go. Kyle Tucker would be nice, but
he clearly is not going back to Chicago, by the way. That quote was crazy. He was like, yeah, good luck to these guys.
Yeah. So I don't know what the answer is. It's going to have to be a creative trade, I think. And the reports are coming out now that they're going to be bold and you might see one of these big contracts move. I'm not going to believe that until I see it, because all of the big contracts have no trade clauses. Turner and Harper have full no trade clauses, and Wheeler and Nola both have like the 10 and 5 thing where it's like they have 10 years of service time. So, and like 5 with the same team, so they can't get traded anywhere without their approval. So those are your 4 biggest contracts. They're not going anywhere. So I don't know if they, like, it was Ruben Amaro who said it, so take it with a grain of salt.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
like,
That's the guy I want to go to for GM advice.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, we'll see. I don't know if he means Castellanos.
Right, and that doesn't even count as big contract at this point. It's 1 year, $20 million. It's still a lot of money, but it's not a big contract, so to say. Yeah, it should be him, though. I think I like Trey. I don't know who would trade for that contract anyway. Yeah. Like, who's trading for that?
Yeah.
Can you think of a team that would want to trade for that?
No, I don't, because like he had really, really high WAR this year, but like I think a lot of it rode on his defensive outs above average, which, like, I'm not dogging on Trey. I love Trey. You know that. He had a great year, and it was very nice to see the resurgence. But like, this is really like the first year in his career. Definitely that he's been this high in outs above average, but like realistically, it's like, you know, he's an average defender. And this year the metrics graded him like great to elite. And I think a lot of that fluffed up his WAR. The extra base hits aren't really there. He stole like a good amount of bases, but not like, still not as like, he doesn't run as much as I'd like to see him run at the top of that lineup. And part of that is you don't want to free up bases for Schwarber when no one else in that lineup was really hitting.
Right. I also don't think he wants to live with getting thrown out and then Schwarber hitting a home run.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. It's a weird spot, but like half of Turner's like draw is his speed. And I just don't think he's using it fully. And that could be with him getting older, which, you know, is unfortunate.
The hamstrings too are a thing now.
Yes. So, like, to answer your question, I don't know who would take that contract.
Yeah. What do you, I don't want to make this too much about the offseason, but like Bo Bichette.
I'm not a Bichette guy.
No, because just thought about like you can move Turner.
Obviously good, but I'm not the biggest Bichette guy.
Neither am I, but just thought of it when we were talking about Turner and shortstop. But yeah, I mean, look, the Dodgers are a wagon, but it was disappointing to see how competitive those games were, and you dropped every single competitive game. I don't know. Like, Harper had a lot of opportunities for his marquee moments,
and I was very wrong. I will say that you were right. I was very wrong. He did not.
He looks cooked, dude. Like, I know I've waited till we're like a half hour into this to bring this up, but he looks cooked. I don't know. Like, mentally, he looks cooked. Like, his eyes look bad. Like, him and Blake Snell must be eating the same food. I don't know what the hell is going on there, but like he doesn't look good physically. The body language is bad. And the at-bats are bad. Like, they're bad. He doesn't look like locked in. And you could kind of tell for the majority of his career when he stepped in the box, he was very imposing to the pitcher. It doesn't seem that way anymore. Like, he just kind of looks like another dude in there.
Yeah, I don't know if, he was hurt this year. If he was just like, I don't know if he was pissed off at the front office that they didn't take his "I'll move back to the outfield, go get me protection" like legit in the offseason or what. But, I called this out when it happened, and, other people have also said it along the internet wavelength, but like he was like very laid back this year for a Bryce Harper kind of like we know who he is. We've seen the energy and everything. And that home run that he hit in Los Angeles was really like the first time that he gave us a fist pump or like energy. And that was halfway through September. Like, we just didn't get the kind of Bryce flair and Bryce production that we're used to. And I'm not going to go as far to say that he's cooked or he's done. I don't know if the wrist was nagging all season, but it was not pleasant it wasn't like as enjoyable of a Bryce year as it normally is.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, they just don't hit big home runs. I mean, we're talking about June of 2023, but that's another thing. Yeah, his flair for the dramatic has just seemingly gone down significantly. I just don't know what it is. Like 2022, 2023. I mean, we'll go back to 2019 with the walk-off grand slam against the Cubs, but like, he was always the dude in those spots and came through. And you saw a little bit of it in the playoffs last year, but this year, just overall, like, it seems like every time at the end of the game when he had a chance to flip the script, it was like a strikeout or a first pitch ground out. There was no significant damage done. And that seems more of like a mental thing to me. He didn't look like all the way in this year. And I don't know, like, how you fix that. Does changing up the team, making him a little uncomfortable, making the faces around him different, and getting him proper protection help that? Maybe. But it's clear like something has gone kind of stale there. I think Kevin Long needs to be out of here.
Yes.
But I think you got to switch up some faces in the lineup around him to really get that out of him, because I think like he's maybe a little tired of the same guys around him. Not so much of like their personality, but I mean like in the lineup.
Yeah, I will. We talked about the coaching. Obviously, Thompson's back. The base running wasn't great this year, so I expect them to make some changes there regarding Wathan and Figueroa. But and I know I leaned into it last year. We talked about it a lot going into the offseason. Kevin Long cannot be back, and I already saw one tweet. I sent it in the group chat, but Kevin Long helped Bryson Stott in the second half of the season, and Kyle Schwarber attributes Kevin Long of reviving his career. Last year we did the whole song and dance with Kevin Long going to recruit Juan Soto. If they bring Kevin Long back because he helped revitalize Kyle Schwarber's career, like, they can go pound sand, because that is such a load of BS.
Yeah,
like you have, like, I don't know. There are so many guys that are around the game that have ties to your organization that are like prominent hitters, and you're choosing to roll with like a guy because one of your players who's a free agent is a fan of him. Like, that is so crazy to me and so tone deaf when your hitters just went silent for the last 2 years in the playoffs and game 6 and 7 at home the year before. Like, even the World Series, they didn't hit particularly well. It's really only been against the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's another thing with like the whole Red October and Citizens Bank Park. The only team that's really been like scared or have shown like resistance is the Braves. Like, the Padres games were all close. The Diamondbacks, the first game was a blowout, but then they came in game 6 and 7 and just manhandled you. The Mets blitzed your bullpen in game 1 last year and took you to extras last year. And the Dodgers, just won 2 here. So, like, as far as, that whole thing of being like 4 hours of hell or whatever it is, we could just add an asterisk to that and say only for the Braves.
Yeah. Atlanta cannot play here, which is funny. I think too, like, there's so much familiarity with the Phillies hitters and the Braves pitchers at this point that I think that also plays into it. I don't think that's really too much to do with the hitting coach. Also, I don't know why we're giving him credit for Bryson Stott, because Bryson Stott declined significantly the last 2 years and he's been the hitting coach. So I'm not going to give him credit for a 50-day hot streak.
Yeah.
Because the guy stunk for 2 years.
Also, 50-day hot streak, except he cooled off for the last 30 days of those 50.
Yeah. It was really like a month. Marsh has not gotten better. Bohm has not gotten better.
Bohm has gotten significantly worse.
Yeah, Castellanos has gotten worse. Now, part of that might be age, but like Trey hasn't. I don't think Trey was gonna get better, but like I don't know. There's an age element with guys like JT and Trey to an extent. But I don't know. He hasn't turned anyone into a god. Like it's just not there, and too many undisciplined at bats in the playoffs again. Their plan frustrated me at times against the Dodgers because they were just trying to get ahead of counts, swing early, and not deal with some of the devastating off-speed pitches that the Dodgers starters have. The issue is the Dodgers bullpen freaking stinks, and you should have been sitting there and trying to work pitch counts. Instead, you're trying to attack to get to these guys early. We mentioned this, in the 6 games you played against them in the regular season, you didn't touch the starters. You crushed their bullpen. So why didn't you wait to get to the bullpen again? I just don't know why they flipped the plan that they had in the regular season and worked when he won 4 out of the 6 games against them. So I'm done with him. Done with the majority of the hitters on this team. But yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, no, the approach was just extremely inconsistent to me, and it drove me crazy. And like the thing that drove me like really crazy in Game 4 was like their Glass now they had pretty good numbers with, and they squandered an opportunity in the first inning, but they had him like not on the ropes because they didn't score, but he threw like 20 pitches in the first inning. And they didn't score. And then it was a day game in Los Angeles, so the shadows started creeping in, and they completely strayed away from their approach. And it went from, hey, we had a 20-pitch first inning. Let's get these guys to the bullpen and make them work. But all of a sudden, second inning came 0-0. Shadows start creeping in, and they're like, oh, shit, we got to score now before the shadows mess up the middle innings. And they just started hacking first pitch, second pitch, making quick outs. And all of a sudden you look up and Glasnow's at like 60 pitches through 5 innings. I don't know if that's the exact number, but his pitch count was like extremely efficient through 4 or 5 innings after he threw 20 plus in the first. Like it was crazy how fast they strayed away from their approach. Just, obviously I don't know if it's the elements, but it coincided perfectly with when the shadows started to creep in. And it was frustrating that they just weren't consistent in how they. And it changed from game to game too. But like that game specifically, I thought was kind of a microcosm of how their offense approached the series as a whole.
No, it was, yeah. So we'll look for that. I guess that decision, they have a press conference on Thursday
morning. Dombrowski and Thompson are talking.
Oh boy. Well, that'll be a fun one to hear. Yeah, so I guess
I hope they say something. Like, I hope it's not coach speak, because I watched clips of the Tigers GM today, or president of baseball operations, and like, the Tigers are a small market team, and like their dude was like legit calling out like their hitters. He was like, when we put the ball in play, we had one of the best offenses in baseball. The lowest strikeout rate month for us, we were the best offense in baseball. Guys need to figure out how to put the ball in play and move the ball, as opposed to swinging out of their shoes and striking out. Like,
while he's right, that's a lot of Captain Obvious takes too. Like,
sure,
oh, really, you didn't strike out.
And then he said some things about trade deadline acquisitions like not working out. Like, I don't want it to be, we like the guys that we have here. We'll see how we can improve in the offseason. Like, no, like give us
whatever, but
give us something legitimate that like actually like gives me somewhat. I mean, I'll buy in a week to whatever they say on Thursday, but like make it mean somewhat something that there's some reason for optimism there. I hope it's not just an hour of coach speak.
It probably will be, but we'll see.
Yeah, I know. I've heard them talk enough.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break. You'll hear from us in the middle of November, and we'll go through our favorite show of the year, the off-season predictions, because it's the only time we get excited anymore. And then you'll hear from us just based off of what happens, which with the Phillies, you probably won't hear from us till spring training. But yeah, you'll hear from us in mid-November. So we'll talk then.